Rescue dogs come from all sorts of backgrounds, and therefore may have some unique traits, personalities, and unfortunately, fear as a result of these difficult lives. These rescue dogs have some pretty unbelievable stories, and luckily a noble sense of justice as well. You won't believe what some of these owners discovered after they adopted their dogs.
Before we begin, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and click the notification bell for more amazing videos.
Apollo, this happy little pit bull, evidently hasn't always had the happiest or easiest life. You can tell just by looking at it. By the time Brittany found Apollo, she was already the proud owner of 6 other well-loved dogs and wasn't planning on adopting anymore. However, after she saw the horrible state Apollo was in, showing her only a small glimpse of the lack of love he'd received, she knew she had to do everything in her power to change that. Brittany found Apollo lying on the sidewalk with injuries so severe, his entire muzzle was gone. Seeing the dog hungry, scared, and in a lot of pain, Brittany was devastated by the animal's plight, and she immediately decided that she would do everything she could to help him learn to trust someone again. But Brittany didn't expect how little she'd have to do to succeed. This lovable pit bull, despite having suffered an obvious life of abuse, was ready to trust Brittany right away because he was desperate for help and affection. According to Brittany, as soon as she put the collar around Apollo's neck, his entire body went limp. He was ready to be taken care of, hoping that some good soul would be willing to help him, because he no longer had the energy to fight adversity alone. He immediately settled into the back of the car, incredibly weak, and perhaps, for the first time in a long time, the dog slept peacefully. Finally, Apollo is happy and healthy now, but it's a shame his attackers were never discovered. Fate. Like Apollo, Fate was born into sad and terrible circumstances that must have left her hopeless and alone. But thanks to Kim Forsyth, Fate was rescued and put in a much better situation, which led to something incredible. When she was just a puppy, Fate was abandoned in an old shed. Fortunately, she was found by kind volunteers, and it was immediately obvious that Fate was a docile and gentle dog by nature and didn't have an inch of meanness in her body. According to her owner, Fate has an innate ability to give attention to those who need her most. This is even more surprising when you consider the fact that Fate is no ordinary dog. Unfortunately, she's blind. It wasn't long after Kim adopted the dog that she realized how special Fate was and great with kids. According to Kim, Fate always perks up when she hears a child speak, and she's obviously a gentle, calming presence for these troubled kids to be around. After noticing her wonderful gift, Kim quickly arranged for Fate to be treated as a therapy animal, so she could help bring solace to every child in need she could. Because of this, Kim and Fate visited One Heartland, a campground in northern Minnesota, once a week during the summer months. This camp is a place that welcomes young people from every state who are struggling with bullying and stigmatization for one reason or another. Whether it's because they have a learning disability, are homeless, are part of the LGBT community, or because they have HIV, or other reasons. One Heartland does not discriminate who joins them. Instead, it only aims to provide life-changing scenarios for those in need. And these kids who go to One Heartland love spending time with Fate. As crazy as it may sound, spending time with Fate is a life-changing experience because she doesn't judge anyone. This allows children to open up to her and begin the terrifying process of sharing their insecurities that they might be afraid to talk about with peers and family. It's easy for them to talk to Fate. The dog's there, she listens, and she offers comfort. How wonderful is that? Well, there was no justice in this case regarding the one who cowardly abandoned Fate. The story is a miracle. Think of all the lost, but wonderful children Fate was able to help, thanks to her being rescued by her owner Kim. This is just one of the many stories that highlight the value and wonder of dogs, no matter where they come from. Frankie. Frankie arrived from the rescue in a terrible state. Unfortunately, Frankie is one of many stray dogs, but one of the few that survived after being hit by a car. When our future owners Nick and Jerissa were driving. They quickly noticed a brown figure dodging between lanes of traffic in Oklahoma City. Jerissa says that in the next few minutes, they noticed a beautiful but terrified pit bull sitting on some scraps between the lanes. She had obviously been hit by a car, maybe more than one, and could move her hind legs enough to walk safely. Desperate and extremely panicked, Frankie was just sitting there waiting for someone to rescue her. They quickly pulled into the closed left lane and didn't hesitate to get out. A woman before them had already tried to get Frankie out of the way. So Jerissa was quick with the operation. She was devastated when she saw Frankie's condition. The dog was clearly in a lot of pain and had not been treated for some time. Prior to the incident, Jerissa didn't think much as she put Frankie into the trunk of her car and climbed into the back with her. Apparently, Frankie was so sick that she didn't even lift her head when Jerissa started to move her. They quickly drove downtown for help. Upon arriving at the vet, it was clear that Frankie was not in the best shape and had survived the chaos. They also weren't sure if she would ever walk alone again. But Jerissa was determined and arranged for surgery with her local vet, not wanting to subject Frankie to a life of special needs. Miraculously, Frankie's surgery was a complete success, and 5 months after the operation, she was urinating fantastically, starting to walk on her own. Imagine how different her life would have been if Jerissa hadn't put herself at risk for her. Every dog owner's worst nightmare is that their dog is unwell, especially if you're not sure what's wrong or how you can help your dog in trouble. Well, when this lady got a strange smell coming from her newly adopted dog, she ended up having to call the police. You won't believe why. Kelly Benzel first met her beloved dog when she saw an ad for him posted on Facebook. Rocco, a white pit bull, was looking at her with sweet but sad eyes, begging for someone to give him a second chance. His hopeless face immediately attracted Kelly, and she didn't hesitate to call those in charge to arrange for Rocco to be taken to her family in time for Christmas. However, things quickly turned sour when Kelly returned home with her new companion. There was more than the characteristic smell coming from the white pit bull mix, and Kelly was quick to investigate where the horrible smell was coming from. As Rocco was already equipped with a black harness, when Kelly picked him up, she could only assume that it came from under the equipment. However, she didn't expect this painful surprise when she took off his harness. Underneath the black harness was an ugly gash located on his neck. The cut was about 15 centimeters long and 4 centimeters deep. Not only was the terrifying cut large, but it was also heavily infected, which was evident both from the scent and from the sight. Kelly was devastated when she saw the wound. What kind of person could think of harming an animal as sweet and helpless as that? Disgusted and worried, Kelly immediately took Rocco to a vet, who luckily managed to treat Rocco relatively well and send them home on painkillers and antibiotic. However, knowing that Rocco would be okay wasn't enough for Kelly. She was furious that anyone could feel the need to hurt such a docile dog, the way they hurt Rocco. So, she also called the Fond du Lac Police Department to report Rocco's previous owners for what they had done. Before Kelly contacted the police, she contacted Rocco's previous owner, who begged her not to call the police. Dog saleswoman Amanda Mullenbach promised to pay all of her vet bills, but that made no difference to Kelly. They'd have to pay for what they had done. Soon an investigation started with the previous owners, Sean and Daniel Snatch. They quickly denied any allegations and claimed that they were unaware of any injuries. In fact, they claimed that the harness had not been taken from him during the several months they had owned it, because it was impossible to get them in the yard without it. Of course, their apology was not accepted by the court, and the previous owners, along with the dog seller, were all charged. Sean and Daniel Snatch were charged with mistreating animals and causing death, both serving 2 years on probation and a lifelong ban on owning or caring for animals. Mullenbach, the saleswoman, was charged with acting as a participant in the crime and also faces 2 years of probation. She's not allowed to own any animals again. Miraculously, Rocco was able to fully recover and is now happier than ever. The vet who first took care of Rocco with Kelly at the Fox Valley Animal Referral Center ended up telling the police that whoever put the leash on Rocco must have done it when he was very young. As Rocco grew older, this caused the harness to get stuck around his neck. District Attorney Eric Taney said that when he was in court, Kelly actually stood up and thanked Amanda for making the Facebook post about Rocco because it put him in her life and freed the animal from that situation. That was very strong, and Kelly was right. If Mullenbach hadn't posted a Facebook ad, who knows what would have happened to Rocco. Fortunately, his guardian angel Kelly showed up just in time, which allowed the dog to make a full recovery. Now, years later, Rocco is incredibly healthy and content, and knows love like no other dog from being in the care of his owner and heroine, Kelly. As devastating as it is, that some animals are treated as horribly as this. It's a miracle that people like Kelly intervened to stop this from happening. Thanks for watching, and see you in another video.